Hey everybody, I am just putting tools away. As it turns out, last week I talked to you about my iPhone having been covered. Well, I went out for a run, and as a result my iPhone got a little damp and it wouldn't charge anymore. So after cleaning it out, it still wouldn't charge, so I left it in rice for multiple days. Let me make sure that the video is working. Okay, and audio is working as well. So that's good. Let me click over here and make the announcement that I'm live. In the chat. Okay, so we'll send that. Okay. So I can move this over here now. Okay. And I'll move this chat over here. And where are my questions? So there they are. So I will put them right here. Scroll up to the top and go. So this is my newly fixed iPhone. So I got this I got the replacement for this in the mail yesterday. And what it is the dock connector. So it's actually a decent sized chunk. It's pretty easy to swap out. The hardest part I had with swapping this out was this guy right here. On the new one it didn't want to go down, and so that wasn't all that hard. Here, it was this guy right here, marked number 7 on my iPhone 3GS. So that was the problem there. So I swapped that guy out, and I also, while I was at it, I thought, I'm going to replace the battery. So that's the battery on an iPhone 3GS. So I've got those. It occurs to me that I haven't put in the final screws because I wanted to get to you guys and gals talking about it. Just FYI, the tools you need to repair an iPhone are a suction cup. That's to remove the screen. You suction it on and pull it off. And these are called spudgers. And they are little tools to pry things out. Now the metal one is, you can do more damage with it if you're not careful. But the plastic one is what I used for pretty much everything. So I found that very helpful. I also I did all this with the help of iFixit, and I got this here. Yeah, iFixit. I've got some stickers on that someone gave me that I thought were funny, given what it was. So I used the 00 Phillips head attachment for that. So we'll see. I just pressed the power button and nothing seems to be happening just yet. So I'm looking for where I put my dock connector cable. Right here. So I will go ahead and plug that in. And okay, it plugs in. That's a good sign. So I'll just put that down there. And let's get to your question, shall we? Let's here. Let me tilt down just a little bit so I can relax in my seat. Instead of sitting on the Apple box today, I am in fact sitting on my desk chair, which is so much more comfortable because it's got a back. So, okay, let's start with the questions. Darren Mitchell on Church Tech Leaders said, I'm about to start a project that will involve quite a bit of interview-style videos. I'm wondering what you all recommend for in terms of lav versus shotgun. I've used a shotgun, both mounted on the camera, as well as on a boom pole, but I have never used a wireless lav before. I am about to make the purchase of either a wireless system or a quality boom. What have you found to give you the best sound? So I wrote back. Other people expressed a lot of the same sentiments. Right now I'm actually recording with a boom microphone. This is about the most inexpensive boom microphone I could find that was not sold on eBay. It's Audio-Technica ATR 3550, I believe. And that works perfectly fine for me in most circumstances. What I don't like about it is it's not XLR. So at church we have a Rode NTG boom that is XLR and has a AA battery that it takes for phantom power, and that sucker works great. I love it. So that's what I would recommend from a boom mic. He says wireless. If you're going to be doing interviews and the interviewee or interviewer isn't going to be walking a lot, I don't know that I would go wireless. Wireless, maybe it's just my experience because I've been in a few different places where the wireless signal, and I've got an old Telex wireless, so perhaps it's better now. But the wireless system had a problem that depending on where I was, I would get interference. Now, if you're going to be recording only in your own city, you can figure this out, but I sometimes do. I live in the Lexington, Kentucky area, and sometimes I do recording in Cincinnati or Louisville or Frankfurt, and so there are different television stations and different radio stations, and if you're near the airport, all kinds of stuff that can cause interference on wireless lavs. And wireless is fine for in your main room, but if you're taking it out and about, you just never know. One other thing is, he said interviews. So my question is he talking about like men on the street type interviews? If he is, I think I would use a stick mic like an SM58 or some other microphone that was good at doing just, I talk, I pointed at you, you talk like this. That. Here, let me see how I'm interviewing you and back. So that's probably what I would do if I were him. I guess chances are in your church you've got some SM58, so it probably doesn't need one of those. A Sennheiser wireless system is really great. So I think that's something that I would look into, but you can't beat the versatility of a good shotgun. So I think I'd probably buy shotgun first and then go for a wireless system second. That's just me, though. Okay, Lucas Apps on G+. This was in a podcasting community. He said, here's a question for the community. I was going to send it to one of the podcasts about podcasting, but decided to post it here instead. I started as a blogger and then started the podcast later. Being that I'm based somewhat local to most of my readers, I get to see and speak with them in person fairly often. I'm constantly asking them if they listen to the podcast, and I get answers like, I can't sit down in front of the computer that long, or They don't know how to subscribe, etc. So, as a podcaster slash blogger, how do you educate your audience about what a podcast is and the different ways they can consume it? So some people were saying things like, well, you can't convince people if you can't... And I get that point, but what they were saying, at least what Lucas says they were saying where their excuses were, they thought they had to listen on the computer, or they didn't know how to subscribe. So I think I would make a screencast to show both of those things and use a URL shortener so that it's easy to remember, and you can just say, hey, no problem, it's really easy to do. In fact, I've made a screencast for you. So go to tinyurl.com/how to subscribe to my great podcast, or something like that. And they could watch the videos and go, oh, well, this really isn't that hard once you know how to do it. So that's something on my to-do list of things that I really want to accomplish myself. I think that it will help some people that don't really know how to subscribe. Just, I think a lot of times removing friction that keeps people from doing what you want to do will solve a lot of problems. Trying to gingerly put this down because I don't have a boom arm yet for this particular microphone, although I'm looking for one. Okay. Dan Krask on Christians in Business on Google Plus asked, today I was asked to buy a web ad on a Christian business directory for $600 a year. I asked if they would provide me a Google Analytics report dated within the past week that covered the last 12 months. They did, and to their credit, did so quickly, albeit during our call. This is what I was told by phone. Bounce rate over 50%, average time on site was less than 3 minutes, the home page bled the most visitors. Does that sound like a $50 a month investment to you? Me neither. To their credit, if they wanted to lie about their stats, they could have given me much better stats, so I'm prone to believe them based on the numbers above. Question, do you advertise in a Christian business directory, and if so, how does it perform for you? What kind of ROI have you seen? So I wrote back immediately. I was the first person to answer and said, I don't know that bounce rate or average time on site are the metrics you need to look at for this. So just if you're unfamiliar, bounce rate is the number of people that don't go to a second page. So if you go to a website and then you leave that website, that's a bounce. You were there, then you left. So you bounced off. Time on site, less than 3 minutes. That might be troublesome, but the question I would ask is, are they on the site such a short amount of time because they find what they want and then they go to it, and that what they go to is one of the advertisers? I mean, it wouldn't trouble me whatsoever if you have 100,000 people visit this site every month, 50,000 of them find exactly what they need and go directly to an advertiser immediately within 3 minutes. That wouldn't bug me at all, especially if I was one of the advertisers. That's all kinds of traffic. That's worth $50 a month to get a good chunk of 50,000 people. Now, what I don't know is I don't know how many uniques they have. So it's possible that they have like 12 people a month that visit and are like this. That's different. That's something totally different. So if it's the case that you don't have very many uniques and you have a high bounce rate, and also it might be interesting to know, are they clicking on the links to go to the advertisers, or are they just closing down that page and going somewhere else? If they're closing down that page and going somewhere else, that's also a problem. So really we don't have the information here. Now, someone else wrote back and said, I'd be careful about going to Christian sites because when I advertise, a lot of people want me to provide my services for free. That's a problem I see a lot in church circles, is people thinking that because you're a Christian you work for free, which is very unbiblical. Let me illustrate what I mean. In Paul's writings, I believe it's 2 Timothy, Paul is talking about how the worker is worth his wages, and he gets that from the Levitical principle of not muzzling the ox while it's milling the grain. And that's a perfectly good principle to apply to. Now, in case you think that the Apostle Paul was just out there, Jesus himself said the exact same phrase, the worker is worth his wages. And that was in Luke 10:7. In Matthew 10:10, he also said the worker is worth his keep. So a very similar phrase. Basically, Jesus and the Apostle Paul both think, yeah, you should pay someone that works for you. So I find it very troubling that there's kind of this culture of freebieism. If someone offers to give you their stuff for free, then by all means they're offering. If you talk to them and they are willing to give it to you for free, that's something different. But expecting that someone was going to give you the work of their hands for free, that's just not right. You see, God wants us to work, and he wants us to reap the benefits of that work, because those benefits, I heard a rabbi talk about this, Rabbi Daniel Lapin. It was on the Entree Leadership podcast from Dave Ramsey, and he was saying that money is nothing more than certificates of appreciation for helping out people. And while it's the case that you can steal money or you can get it in immoral ways, generally speaking, people get money for helping out other people. So when my house needs to be re-roofed, if I have someone re-roof it to show my appreciation, I pay them. Now they tell me how much appreciation they need to be shown before we start, so that's important. But then that person with their money goes to a restaurant and they show their appreciation for the food that they eat by giving them some of the money that I gave the roofer. You see how that all works? Money isn't inherently evil. The Bible never says that money is the root of all evil. Look it up. It says the love of money is the root of all evil, or probably better translated, the love of money is the root of all sorts of evil. So loving money, being motivated solely by it, not by helping people, not by changing lives and eternities, that's a problem. But if you go all out in helping as many people as you can, and you're generous and kind and thoughtful, I don't know that I would say that that's bad. I think that I would say that that's actually a good thing. So that's probably the next thing that I would tell you is don't be concerned about making money. And I'm arguing against my own interests here, because what I'm doing right now I'm not getting paid very much for at all. And I just continue to help people. That's what I'm made to do. That's what motivates me. Money doesn't motivate me. But I really think it's bad when someone says, well, it's not Christian if you make money. That's hooey. That's not true at all. Okay, stepping off my soapbox for the final question. This is Dean Warner on Google+. He says, well, I was just asked to write a mission statement and a vision statement for our church tech media department that I'm trying to get up and running. I've done this stuff before for youth ministry, but for tech it's so hard. The letter has to be done by tomorrow at 6 p.m., LOL. Can you all be praying for me, because I have nothing as of right now. Thank you. So, Dennis, what I would say is, I don't think it's that hard if you connect the dots. So, if tech is just to play with fun toys, that's hard. But if it's to enable the message to be seen and heard, I mean, right there, that's all that it is. That's why my ministry exists. It exists to change lives and eternities using technology to facilitate the good news to get out. That's it. Now, I just made that up off the cuff because I really, really believe it. Lives and eternities really, really matter. People really, really matter. Have you noticed that the only thing that goes to heaven are people? Have you also noticed that Jesus said to store your treasure in heaven? What kind of treasure is in heaven? People. They're the currency of heaven. People matter. People are the treasure of heaven. So think of how you can connect doing technology with helping people, and I think it's a pretty simple thing. So, anyone else have any questions? Feel free to drop me a line, paul@trinitydigitalmedia.com. You can give me a call, 1-877-763-3246 or 1-877-POD-ECHO, or join the live stream. This show records every week, with few exceptions, and we'll talk about that in a second, at Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific, on churchtechcast.com. If you could do me a favor, head over to bit.ly/CTC, make that bit.ly/survey CTC. That's an audience survey, and I'm just trying to get some demographic information for advertising and such, because I do believe it's perfectly okay for me to want to feed my family, doing what I'm called to. So, I said there was one exception to the recording. Next week is my church's leadership retreat, and this time next week I will be listening to my pastor teach us on leadership during this show. So chances are we're not going to have this show next week. It's possible that I'll record one in advance if there are enough questions in the early part of the week. Technobabble as well will be recorded in advance. And I've already recorded Eternity Changers, so I need to get on that. So I hope that all that helps you. I hope that you'll just be more motivated to go out and change lives and eternities, because that's what really, really matters. Till next time, I'm Paul Allen Clifford with TrinityDigitalMedia.com.